talk to us about your lawsuit. What is it you're trying to drive to? Because I think a lot of people think this is kind of like, oh, done.
Well, it has been a perilous week in American democracy, right, as we witness the fallout of the Supreme Court's decision. Lawmakers across the South are moving at lightning speed and intentionally targeting black voters, dismantling majority black districts, seeking to silence black voters, seeking to strip power away from black elected officials. I'm somebody who has been a lifelong civil rights lawyer, and I have fought many of voting rights battles, but this moment is like none other. What we saw yesterday in Tennessee is something that I think we'll talk about for generations. But for now, the NAACP is doubling down on the fight that lies ahead. We will use every tool available to beat back the discrimination that we are witnessing in this moment. And we filed suit in Tennessee State Court challenging the proclamation issued by the governor that called this special session. The law requires that those proclamations be very exact and precise in terms of the purpose for bringing the legislature back. He said the purpose was to redraw maps, but he didn't just do that. He repealed a law that has been on the books for 5 decades that actually prohibits Tennessee from engaging in mid-decade redistricting. He also wiped away a residency requirement for lawmakers as they move forward with these new maps, and wiped away a requirement that local election officials actually tell voters what precinct they're assigned to. So we're arguing that the proclamation was illegitimate and that this session should be wiped off the books, and that the existing maps should be used for elections this year.
Representative Pearson, you are a plaintiff in this lawsuit that was filed Thursday in the district court for the Middle District of Tennessee. This is an assault on black people in this country. And frankly, it's been happening for a while now. When I first met you, it was because you and 2 other state elected officials were kicked out of the chamber during a session because, well, we don't even need to go through it. They kicked y'all out and not anybody else. And so you had some very impassioned words on the floor from the State House yesterday. I know you were barred they attempted to bar you from reentering. What is your message to not just other elected officials in state legislatures across the country, but black and brown voters in some of these states across the South, across the country, about what it's going to take? Because we are, I believe, in a post-Reconstruction period, another one right now. Oh, I think you're muted. There you go.
Thank you. What we experienced and what we saw yesterday in the state of Tennessee was a political lynching. It is very much an era of retribution that we are entering into in the United States of America across the South, where 12 to 20 United States House seats that are black majority are at risk of being taken away, and nearly 200 seats for state House members and state Senate members are likely to be taken away by the rise of white supremacy and its attempt to solidify its power on behalf of the biggest white supremacist in the United States of America, which is the President of the United States. I was expelled, and my other black colleague was expelled from the Tennessee General Assembly, standing up against gun violence, while our white colleague was not. That's not accidental or coincidental. This is a part of who the Tennessee General Assembly is. But in this particular moment, we all have to stand up, speak up, and fight back from whatever positions we have in every part of this country. At the State House, in the governor's mansions, we need to be advocating and fighting and resisting, because what just happened in Tennessee was the largest and the most swift disenfranchisement of black people that we have seen in at least a century.
Kristen Clarke, your sense of where this fight goes next?
So a few things. I think that we're going to see a lot of battles in the courts as civil rights lawyers and organizations like the NAACP fight back. I think that we're going to see a groundswell of support inside of our Capitol houses as lawmakers put targets on majority black districts. People are going to show up and use their voices to speak out, as we saw yesterday in Tennessee, as we saw today in Louisiana and Alabama. But most importantly, I think we're going to see people on the streets in every corner of this country resisting this return to Jim Crow 2.0. So we are in a battle to save democracy. Justice Roberts was wrong when he put the first death knell in the Voting Rights Act and claimed that it was a new day and that voting discrimination was a thing of the past. We have seen racism unleashed in our political process, and in this moment, every American needs to use their voice to speak out.
I just kind of look at all of this, Representative, and I alluded to it coming in about where the trend line of the country is going. And what a lot of this, for me, signals is fear, that thus the replacement theory BS that you hear a lot of folks out there, sort of sound like little crows out there mimicking. You also recognize how much the country foundationally could change. When you look at your own legislature, when you look at the men and women in that chamber and you look at how they're treating you, their fear is one day, sir, you're going to be sitting there as the speaker of that chamber. You're going to be sitting there as the majority leader in that Senate. You may be standing there as the governor of that state one day with the power to do to them what they're doing to us, to you right now. How do you see that future? And what are you saying to particularly constituents your age who are for the first time having to confront something that I went through with my parents back in the 1960s? And now here you are as a young legislator, already having experience, as Simone pointed out at the beginning, what Jim Crow feels like and sounds like and looks like. How do you help young people appreciate what this moment requires of them going forward?
I think the main thing that people have to realize, and what young people realize in particular, is that we did not get this far by ourselves. The work of our ancestors, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that they shed for 400 years in this country is how we've gotten to the point and the places that we are. I'm running for the United States Congress after the same women who watched me give Easter speeches now want to see me give speeches in the United States Congress. That is the arc that we understand as a people, that we have persevered through everything that has been thrown at us, from enslavement to lynching, from the burning of Tulsa to the Memphis Massacre, from mass incarceration to now the removal en masse of Black political power through congressional seats. We have persevered, and that perseverance does scare them. It worries a lot of people. It worries, the biggest worry of white supremacy, because they've tried everything to destroy us. They've tried everything to break us, and it does not work. We continue to persist. We continue to fight back. We can continue to build power. And in this moment in time, that is what we are seeing, a mass mobilization of people, unlike anything that we've seen recently, at least in Tennessee history, but likely across the South, to organize, to mobilize, to activate, to register more voters, but then to make sure they get to the polls. They've broken up all these districts thinking that we're not going to be able to compete in them, but we are, and we're going to win. And so what the devil means for bad, God's going to turn into good. But I do know that the history of our ancestors is our encouragement for why we have to fight and why we will win.